Okay, now we're going to talk about what we call white balance. Now, white balance is something that everyone's really seen happen but don't know what it's called. And I say this because if you've been taking a picture with your compact camera, your DSLR, your smartphones, even your Bridge camera, you'll see that sometimes your picture is more yellow or blue than your eyes can see. Now, what's happening when this happens is your camera is reading the wrong white balance. So, like I said, this often happens if we take a picture and we take a picture, for example, inside, because inside lights are one of the biggest causes of an incorrect white balance. Now, what is white balance? White balance is the process of removing unrealistic color casts in your picture. What's meant by color cast? Now, each light source has a different temperature, and we measure the temperatures in kelvins. Now, this means your daylight is a different temperature, your light bulbs inside the house are a different temperature, your fluorescent light tubes are a different temperature. And depending on what temperatures your light source is, this determines the color the light comes through as. For example, a lower light temperature in kelvins come out more yellow, and a hotter temperature comes out more blue. So that is what white balance is balancing the light casts. So what you see is the same thing as what your camera reads. And how do we do that? On your camera, you see a WB button. If you press this is how you change your white balance. Now, when you press this, you'll see a few options, which we're going to go through now. Okay, so your first option is your automatic white balance. And in this option, your camera selects the best white balance for your picture. So it balances the color temperatures itself. Next, we have daylight, which your camera balances the color temperatures for daylight when the main light is the sun. So choose these options when you're outside doing some outdoor photography and the sun is out, and then your camera will choose the right white balance for the daylight, for that sun. Next, we have cloudy, which this is a little bit warmer than the daylight setting, so it's a bit more yellower, like I said previously. The warmer the light source is, the warmer your picture will be, the more yellow toned it will be. So in this option, your camera balances the color temperatures for cloudy environment, so when there's a lot of clouds. And next we have shade, which is even more warmer than the cloudy. And this is because the camera's trying to counteract the blue shadows. So when you see cloudy and shaded environment, it's a lot more shadowy. And because of that, your camera chooses a warmer temperature to counteract it. But the shade is the warmest option. So if you want your picture to have more warm tones, you have to choose the shade option. Now, next we have the tungsten, which is the other way. It counteracts the orange in the tungsten lights, so your picture is more cooler, it's more blue. So this option gives you the bluiest color tones in your picture to counteract the orange cast from your light. Now, with personal experience, if you take a picture indoors and then you do have your tungsten light, it's normally a lot orange than your eyes see. This is because you don't have the white balance on tungsten to counteract those orange casts in the light. Now, what is tungsten? I know you're asking. Tungsten is just the normal household light. So it's your bulbs that's normally bayonets or screw caps that you have to climb the ladder to change. It's your normal household light, so you do see them every day. Now, next up, another household option, we have the fluorescent light tubes. Now, the fluorescent option counteracts the cast from the fluorescent light Again, this is an orange cast, but it's not as orange as the tungsten bulb because it's a more cooler choice of light. So the counteraction, it'll be more blue, but it won't be as blue as the tungsten. Now we have the flash option, and this is used when you're using indoor or outdoor flash lighting, and the flash is your main option of light. It's your main light source. Now the flashlight is the most similar in terms of light temperature to your daylight. So that's how the flash works. It gives you the perception that you're taking the picture in daylight. So lastly, we have the custom, which lets you set your own white balance. Now how this works, you get a colored sheet of paper and then you hold this in front of your camera and then you press your custom white balance for it to take that color cast into account. Now this is really good for when you're being creative, as it lets you adjust exactly what tone of color you want. This is good when you have more than one light source. So for example, if you want to use ambient light on your subject as well as your flash, if you put it on custom, you can still control exactly what tone of color you want to balance. Okay, now the main thing to say about white balance, yes, it's used to correct incorrect color casts, but we also use it to trick our camera to let our picture have a certain color tone. For example, if you are taking a futuristic picture, you might want to put your white balance on tungsten so you get more of the bluier tones. The other way, if you want a warmer picture, you might want to put it on shade or cloudy. So it's good for tricking your camera. So for example, if you're taking a picture of the sunset or sunrises and you want it more orange, it's a quick way of tricking your camera to just giving you that orange color casts.